Okay, so welcome to episode 6 of A Matter of Perspective. I have a very special guest today, but before I go there, I just want to let you guys know that the website is up and running. It's a matterofperspective.org. And in there, you can get the link to the Spotify link for audio and the Apple link and link to this YouTube channel. So I am trying to grow this channel. So if you know of anyone who could benefit from this and sharing their story and benefit others, please, let us know. We're also trying to potentially get sponsors or, and future guests. So if you know anyone, just let us know. And we'll tell you the contact information later for that. So my next guest is a very special friend of mine. And her name is Renee, and she has 2 kids, Wyatt and Olivia. And I'm just going to pop her in here. So let me get her on. Hey, Renee, there you are.
Hey, Bill. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you are welcome. You are very welcome. So you're a mom. You have 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do for a living? And
so I'm a nurse. I did 16 years in labor and delivery. And then 3 years ago, I switched to the operating room.
Ooh, that's a big jump.
Yeah.
When I hear operating room, I think of I'm probably dating myself, but that Seinfeld episode when the junior mint falls in the, anyway. So where did you do the maternity stuff? That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so I did it in several different hospitals. One was in Brockton Hospital in Brockton. In Gardner, Mass. I worked. Cheshire Medical Center in Keene, New Hampshire.
Wow.
And I did some per diem stuff at Good Sam in Brockton, and Morton Hospital in Taunton is where I ended my career as a labor and delivery nurse before I switched over to the operating room.
Wow. And where are you where are you working now for
Yeah, so now I'm at Morton. I just switched over to a different department because the labor and delivery room actually closed.
Oh.
So we all needed new jobs, and I said maybe this is the time that I should switch it up a little and do something different, and I'm happy that I did. It was a good transition.
So you were obviously in the trenches during COVID and all that entailed. That must have been
that was something. A lot of nurses wanted to leave the profession. We had a lot of guilt because how can you leave nursing? You're supposed to be helping everyone, but in the beginning of the whole pandemic, we thought everybody was going to die, right? We didn't know much about the disease at all. We would come home. There were nurses sleeping in their campers, sleeping out on their porches and sleeping bags. Nobody wanted to share a bed with anybody. It was devastating. It really was tough.
Yeah, that mental effect must have been,
Oh, it was awful. I worked in a COVID clinic and swabbed anywhere from 200 to 500 people a day.
Wow.
PPE from head to toe. It was awful. It was really bad. We were doing things with personal protective equipment that we had never done in the history of nursing. We were reprocessing our N95 masks, which we didn't even know would they even work because, the company doesn't recommend you to reprocess your disposable masks. So every day was like, oh God, please let me wake up and not be infected. So it was rough. It was rough.
Yep. Rough all around.
Yeah.
Yep. So what brings you on? I know we've had some dialogue, and let me just say, and I say this to all my guests, it takes a tremendous amount of courage to share any personal story. And I really commend you. I know we had a lot of dialogue before, and I'm very happy that you decided to be on here. So why are you on here? What story do you want to share?
Okay, so when I saw your episode 0, I thought, wow, here's Bill again doing something great for the community,
Oh,
right?
jeez. Thanks.
And I had a story that I wanted to share, but I never really wanted to share it because it was very personal. I'm not proud of it, but I knew the premise of your show was to help others. And I knew that if I kept this to myself and didn't share my experience, that it potentially, I mean, it would never help anyone because I wouldn't share it, right? So if today's episode touches one person, plants that seed, then I did the job that I wanted to do. So
Amen,
yes,
Renee.
it's
Amen. And that,
very, it's, it,
yeah, and that's the ethos of this channel, right? You're going to
right,
hear this, folks, with every guest that comes on here. That is the ethos. If we can help one person get through some struggle, then it makes all this time, effort, and energy worth it. Yeah. So, and
yeah.
it warms my heart that guests see that, see the value in that. Yep.
Well, you have good energy, Bill. You really do. I mean, you
Oh,
help a
thank
lot
you.
of people, and I think it's not going to be hard to get people on your show because you do such good for the people around you. So I'm very happy to be
Oh,
here.
I'm very touched by that. Thank you, Renee.
Oh,
Thank you.
thanks.
Yeah.
So
But
I'm
we know there's
here.
a higher power at work, right? So,
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's part of my story too. So thank you for acknowledging that,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I 4 months ago walked into a meeting. I don't want to talk about the name of the meeting. It's an anonymous meeting.
Hmm.
I'm not a representative of that program, but I became part of it because I had a really bad problem with alcohol.
Hmm.
Um, I've struggled with it all of my adult life, and the progression of it just got worse as
Hmm.
time went on. Nursing through a pandemic, um, the stores were open to buy alcohol. Everything was closed except for these package stores, these liquor stores. And that is because about 15 million people in this country struggle with alcohol addiction. And so it really got bad through the pandemic.
Yeah, especially front facing. I read a lot of books. I do a lot of research, and nurses, doctors, policemen, anyone, any EMS, they are prone to that. And it's not just alcohol; it's other addictions because
Right.
you see things that we'll never see, and
Right.
to come back and kind of deal with normal life and that can be difficult.
Right. Right. For sure. Um, I used it as an excuse for a long time, like, oh, I'm just going to drink because I need to cope, right? Well, only an addicted person would say that because normal people wouldn't turn to something to alter themselves on a daily basis or, frequently if they weren't addicted.
Right.
Having a glass of wine to unwind or something, that's drinking like a gentleman per se, right? But drinking a bottle of it to get messed up is not normal
Right.
it's not healthy. It's not, it's just, it's too much. And then so with that, you're doing it all the time, there becomes an addiction that happens, and you didn't mean for it to happen. It's just the progression of the disorder or the disease. So it's like that with everything, right? Sugar, drugs,
Absolutely.
gambling, sex,
Yep.
everything.
Yep.
Just it's really hard with alcohol and sugar because we're surrounded by it, right? You sit down at the dinner table, that's what's in front of you. It's well accepted.
Yep.
Um, I come from a family of drinkers, so growing up, I very quickly learned that the cool people were the drinkers. That's who I surrounded myself with, and birds of a feather flock together, right? So
Yep.
I'm not going to hang out with my sister very much, who doesn't drink, because she's lame, right? That's my sickness. Like, I want to be with people that are going to do what I want to do,
Yep.
because there's a lot of selfishness with addiction. And this program that I'm in is really opening my eyes, because there's a huge difference between being sober and being in recovery.
Right. Now,
things.
yeah, so not to interrupt, but you mentioned selfish. So someone like yourself who is selfless in what you do, even your job, right? A lot, how could you equivocate that to being selfish? Like,
Right.
elaborate on that.
So it was easy for me to drink because I felt like I deserved it, right? I'm going to reward myself with drinking. But
Gotcha.
really, what the heck kind of reward is that? You're completely inebriated. You're just, nothing around you is what's really happening, because you're so intoxicated that you're affecting your everyday conversations with people. Getting in a car and driving, you're
Hmm.
putting people at risk.
Yep.
I share space with people on a weekly basis that tell their stories, and it breaks my heart in so many ways, because most of the time something really bad has to happen for you to hit your rock bottom.
Yeah. Yep.
And my rock bottom, people might look at me and laugh and be like, that was your rock bottom. But to me, it was awful. And I learned that in this program, it's not the story that's going to be the same per se as the person next to you that has the same addiction. It's the feelings that you experience.
Gotcha.
Everyone's going to share that commonality, not so much the experience. I don't know what it's like to kill somebody. I don't know what it's like to get my stomach pumped. I don't know what it's like to go to jail or be arrested. None of that stuff happened to me.
Right.
I got out before it did, because if I continued to do what I was doing, I eventually would have killed someone, myself or someone else, my kids. So I thank God every day. I need a box of tissues. Hold on,
Okay.
Bill.
Yeah. No.
You're
As you
getting me in
guys
the
know,
feels,
people
Bill.
listening, people watching, is that, this is raw, right? And this is the only way this channel is effective, is
Right.
not fluffing anything up. Ask Renee, there was literally no prep for this. So, so I have a question for you. And you mentioned that rock bottom's different for different people. Absolutely. Some people like yourself realize that early. Some don't, as you articulated to, which is very sad. But how did you know when it was an issue? Like, how did it affect potentially? I'm not saying it did, but
Yeah.
work,
Yeah.
family,
So,
relationships. So how did that come about?
so alcoholism is a sneaky disorder or disease or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just wake up one day and become this, mess of a person who has this addiction. It's progressive.
Right.
So the progression of the disease, it's happening and you're not even realizing it until someone points it out. And when someone points it out, you basically write them off because they're just attacking you.
And that's denial, right? Would you say that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you do it to the people that love you the most, because they're the ones saying to you, what are you doing?
Right.
And none of your business what I'm doing, right? Like, just
Yep.
leave me alone.
Right.
So, and that's the disease. So of course I'm learning all this now because I've only been in this program for 4 months, but it's amazing. It's unbelievable. My eyes are so open now to things. And so part of the program is saying amends to people, that you were sorry that you did things to. And I ruined a lot of relationships, a lot.
Yep.
And, nobody knew I had this problem. I mean, some of my closest friends didn't know because you're very calculative, like I'll use my friend Jen, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to hang out with her too many times in this week because then she'll see this pattern. So I'll hang out with Jen this day, then I'll hang out with this person this day, and maybe Carrie this day, and that type of thing, And even when you buy your alcohol, you don't go to the same store, because if you go to the same store every day, they're going to know that you have a problem.
Wow. Yeah.
And every alcoholic knows that feeling. And it's like my mom, who I'm very close to, she had no idea. I would hide it in a Dunkin' Donuts cup, like it's very sneaky. It's very, very sneaky. So my rock bottom was New Year's Eve, this past New Year's. My daughter had her friend over. My son had his friend over. My boyfriend was here, my boyfriend of 9 years.
Wow.
And I had a couple girlfriends over. We sat at the table and I bought wine for my guests. I truly believed, Bill, that day that I wasn't going to drink. I'm like, my kids are here. I split custody with them because their dad and I aren't together.
Yep.
So I did most of my damage when I did not have my kids, right? Because when I had my kids, I had to be a mom to them. So I would, tailor it back a little. And I would say, see, I don't have a problem, because I would only drink a few glasses and not like the whole bottle, right?
But let me get this right. You picked the most popular night or day to drink, not to drink.
Right. Like, this is like, and these are the games you play. Like,
right.
I don't have a problem. I'm not going to drink on New Year's Eve. Like, if I had a problem, I'd be shit-faced, right? Like, obviously I don't have a problem because I'm serving my friends, and my friends, when we talk about that night, they're like, you poured all the drinks. We never poured one. I'm like, I did. I don't remember. This is leading me to my story that I blacked out that night. I blacked out. I woke up in bed fully dressed. I don't remember saying Happy New Year's. Did I do it because my boyfriend was here and I knew he was going to take care of everything? Obviously, yes, because I never would have done it if he wasn't there. But just for me, that was my rock bottom. A week at that moment when I woke up, that was not the day that I decided. When I woke up and my boyfriend was sleeping on the couch and I was in the bed and I'm like, what the heck happened? Why is he on the couch? And he's like, last night was really bad. I'm like, what are you talking about? It was awesome. And he's like, no, it really wasn't. And I didn't remember, like, the last 10 o'clock was the last I remember.
Right.
And my daughter's friend, the next week when I saw him again, he's like, my knee hurts. And I'm like, oh, honey, your knee hurts? What happened? He's like, you totally dove on us. Like you were in a concert. You were dancing and you just jumped on the bed like you were at a concert. And I was so mortified that here's this boy who has known me for a month. And what the hell? What did I do? Like, I don't remember that. And so that was my rock bottom.
Right.
And I played it off like, oh, honey, I was just kidding. I was just having a good time, because I didn't want him to be thinking that I had a problem. Right. Oh, God, Bill, it was just that. So that was my rock bottom.
But that's what you verbally articulated to him. But inside you were.
Oh, inside I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I blacked out. I never blacked out. This was like, holy moly. Right. This was the moment.
Yep. So what were the next steps after that? So
this is how God works, in my opinion. I was at the beach the summer before and I got hit in the head with a rock by a boy who had he was mentally challenged, teenage boy, who obviously throws like Kurt Schilling because he whipped the rock.
Those of you who are listening who don't know who Kurt Schilling is, he was a pitcher for the Red Sox, bloody sock, whatever. Go ahead.
He was amazing. No, I don't really know if he was amazing, but I just remember his name because of the bloody sock. So that's a whole other episode. So he threw it and it hit my head and it hit my temple. And I immediately went down, couldn't hear, extreme pain, had to go to the hospital, suffered a massive concussion. It was so bad that.
How big was this rock?
It wasn't even that big. It was like, I think it was like that.
Wow. Must have had, some velocity. Yeah.
And it just hit where the only part of your brain has no protection. So I couldn't walk without being dizzy. My memory was horrible. I couldn't drive. It was very scary, very, very scary. And I remember praying to God saying, I'm so embarrassed that I'm praying to you to help me because I do nothing for you. Because at this point I was drinking like whenever I wanted, right?
Right.
And I said, if you please heal me, I will be a better Christian. I will be a better Christian. I will help people. And I promise. And I was so embarrassed praying, thinking, I can't believe who am I to pray to a person I do nothing for, right?
Right.
And so I was healed, full recovery, and started going to church every Sunday. Like I was like, thank you, God. And now I'm going to do my part. And I started helping more people and trying not to be so selfish, but it's hard to care about other people when all you care about is your own addiction.
Gotcha.
And an addiction that no one knows you have. So it's a pretty, it's a crazy place to be in. Sorry, Bill, I lost it. My daughter just came home from school.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. So, so I want to back up. She can pop in and say hi if you want.
Hey,
let me
Olivia,
just back up.
Do you want to say hi to Bill? Look. Say hi. He can.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
That's my oldest. She had a half day today.
Nice.
All right. So back up. Sorry. I think
let me back up. So, yeah, you mentioned that, who were you to pray to God because you don't do anything for him? You do, right? And it's more than just praying. By you helping others in your nursing capacity, you being a good mom, that's all the Lord's work, right? In my humble opinion. So,
yeah.
I think you were doing it through your actions, maybe not actively praying, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. So then the year goes on and I went with a friend surfing, and I had no idea that he was in recovery for like 15 years or some incredible amount of time. And I was talking to him about, how I think this is an issue. And he started talking to me about this anonymous program that he's part of. And as soon as he mentioned God, I felt like, I don't know, are these people all Bible thumpers? Like I really got uncomfortable about it.
Yep.
And I said, actually, Bill, I'm saying it backwards. This happened before the rock to the head. Yes. So God's work, I'm saying it backwards. So I went surfing and that happened. And I said, I can do this without God. I got in this position without him. I don't need him to get me out. So I was sober for 80 days on my own. Didn't tell anybody, just white knuckled it. Yeah. And on the 81st day, I celebrated with a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Because in my head, this is the disease, right? I can do it. I totally did it. I just did it for 80 days.
Yep.
So I'll drink today and then I won't drink again. And then back down in the rabbit hole I go. That's when I got hit in the head with the rock at the end of that summer. And then, so I got better after praying and I thought, maybe God is listening to me. Maybe he is willing to help me. And then, so moving forward, I joined the church, got pretty involved. And then we had a car accident on Christmas Eve. Someone hit us going 60 miles an hour while we were at a complete stop. And it landed my son in the ICU with brain bleeds and skull fractures.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, oh my God, please let him be better. Let him be better. I know you're going to help me because you have, and here I am already better. But I never, all through the prayers and doing more for people, I never stopped drinking through that. I still did stuff for people, but I never stopped drinking.
Right.
So it wasn't until this past 4 months ago that I went to a friend's house and he offered to get me a drink. And I was like, yes, I'm gonna have a drink. And he said, well, I don't have any alcohol because I don't drink. And I was like, what? Like, okay, I'll just have water. But because I love drinking so much, when he said he didn't drink, I knew that that meant there was an issue, right? He must have had some sort of issue, and that's why he didn't drink. So I got home that night, and I texted him, and I said, hey, what, I never knew this about you. What makes you not drink?
Right.
And so he went into the whole story, and he told me about the program he was in, and he said he would take me with him. And I'm like, sure. And at this point, I'm like, you know what? I'm fine with God. Like, God has helped me, and now I have a relationship with him. I'm in church. I'm doing great things, but I'm still drinking. So I knew that that was the next thing that had to go.
Right. Right.
So yeah, so I went, and one of the biggest things with this program is you have to share. You have to share with people, because you can't keep it to yourself. The whole program is derived on sharing. So if you don't share your experiences, then you're never going to touch someone else who is struggling and feels like they're alone in this world. And this is only happening to me, and I don't know what to do, and I don't know where to go. So when you said you were doing this show, I'm like, oh God, I got to tell my story, even though it stinks, because it's the most vulnerable, negative, weak, it's all of those things that I don't think of myself as.
All human traits, right? We are,
right.
we are bound to weakness. And
Right.
yeah, in storytelling, and part of me doing this channel, like every other week or so, I just share my story. I come on alone, and that I've been finding that like rekindling things that have happened in the past. Like I had the one with the diagnosis, that show I did. I mean, this is only episode 6, so it wasn't that long ago. Like reading some of the things I typed years and years ago, just the tears were just flowing, right? It opened up that wound again. But so I think that by telling stories and by listening to stories, we can get healing. I really do. I really
Right.
do. Yeah. So what now?
So I have been very quiet about it, which now that's changed. Thanks, Bill Delby. But as I go on this journey of recovery, I realize that the more people that hear my message, their perspectives change. And I mean, this is the whole premise of your show. And I'm like, this is like God's work, right? Another sign in my life to tell my story.
Yep.
Which in comparison to other people's stories, mine's lame, but the end result is the same.
It's all relative, right? It's all
right.
relative. And I had to pull, and you're going to hear this at least, every other episode, but for years I had to pull to do the show. And I'm like, who am I to do this? I'm not an expert. I don't have the time, all the expertise. And I just had this overwhelming, almost daily thought and urge. And I just said, well, I'll trust in you and I'll do it. Awesome. And I really do in my heart, Renee, think that every single thing happens for a reason. I don't think there's any chance. I think people are put into our lives for a reason. Circumstances happen for a reason.
Absolutely. Nothing is coincidence. Nothing.
Right.
Not that I ever would want that accident to happen for my son or myself, but both of those accidents brought me closer to God.
Yeah.
And now I'm on a honeymoon with him. And so now I get out of bed, and instead of being like, what are we going to do today? And what are we doing for dinner? And where are we going to drink type of thing? I'm like, what can I do for somebody?
Yeah.
What life can I touch today?
And you've changed your perspective. That is a beautiful testament, Renee.
Yeah. And like you said, you thought, who am I to do a show? I feel the same way. Like, who am I to talk about recovery? I have 131 days. Who am I? Like, let's talk to the guy who has 15 years. But you know what? There's so many people out there that want to hear from the newbies, the new people, the new people in recovery, because the feelings are so new and raw, that the wounds are still healing.
Yep.
So every stage of recovery is important to hear.
Sure. And you know, you never stop. Like you know, you mentioned early back, you know, you know, people who are prone to that have addictive personalities. And I am one of them. Like I've gone down my own paths when I was younger. And yeah, God helped me through it for sure. Hang on. Sorry about that. Yeah, definitely helped me through it. You know, helped me gain a perspective to set my priorities straight. But I am, you know, you would quantify me as having an addictive personality, you know, in everything that I do, not just, you know, not bad stuff, but anything, you know.
Right. It's true. And I'm the same way. And until your eyes are open to it, you're like, wow, you know. So now instead of wine, I'm drinking iced coffee like it's going out of style. And it wasn't until the other day that I'm like, why am I drinking so much coffee? Like I feel awful with all this coffee. And it's because of that addictive personality.
Yep.
Just
like,
substituting.
Like I had quit smoking. I was a smoker, you know, and I've quit now for like 16 years, probably, yeah, even before Alex was born. And you know, every once in a while I'll have one, you know, like if a student is smoking, you know, maybe one, but I still chew the gum.
Oh yeah.
I don't need it, but that's that addictive thing. Right. So I still chew like the cheap version of Nicorette, and yeah, it's, you know, it's a replacement. And some people, you know, I've heard it articulated that, well, you're just replacing one addiction with another. Probably, but it's better than hot smoke going in my lungs, or in your case, it's better than alcohol, right?
Right.
So
I started going back to the gym and boxing again, which is awesome. But now it's like every day I'm doing that because of that addiction. Like, so now I'm addicted to endorphins.
See, that's a great thing.
That's a pretty good thing to be addicted to.
Yep. I had a guest on, Christian Silver, and he owns, you know, a company in Connecticut, and that's what his outlet is that physical activity. And he helps others to achieve that as well. So that's awesome. That's really good. Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
So if you had to talk to someone like you were just not a short time ago, and to maybe guide them to the path that you did, what words of advice would you give someone like that?
You have to be honest with yourself. Absolutely. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to surround yourself with people that know what you're going through, because the closest people to me, my boyfriend being one, he barely drinks. He just never got into it. His family, he doesn't come from a long line of alcoholics. They just don't, they never did. So he didn't understand anything. I mean, to the point where he was like, hon, you don't need meetings. You just need to use moderation. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. I didn't think of that. You know, he just didn't know. And in the beginning, it was tough. I mean, I resented him because he didn't understand what I was going through. And the poor guy, like, I was happy for him that he didn't understand, but it just made it difficult for me, because obviously if I could use moderation, that would be the answer. But that's what separates me from someone who's not addicted.
Right.
So definitely get in a program, you know, get around people that understand anybody. And I'll gladly help anybody, get anyone to where they need to be. There's meetings all over. You can do them online, which I didn't even know, but it's pretty awesome. Like, you can literally get an app on your phone, and every hour on the hour, there's meetings somewhere. You can be on a meeting in Australia. It's really cool.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's so much help out there. You just have to tap into it, and you have to want it.
Right. And we'll put that in show notes. Like, I'll do, you know, we'll put some, those of you who are listening or watching, we'll put it in the show notes. But I think you mentioned something that is the most important. It was what you led with. You got to be honest with yourself. And we are professionals at rationalizing anything
Oh, yeah.
good or bad. So,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the other thing about this program is you can't lie. And that's harder to do than not drink sometimes, right? Like, because people just don't know how to set good, healthy boundaries. We lie all the time. We
Right.
lie about stupid things, like just stupid things like, can you work for me tonight? No, I have to babysit my cousin. What? I just
Right.
pulled that out of my butt. Like,
Right.
just say
Right.
no, you don't want to, you're tired. Like, we just lie all the time about everything.
Well, we do it to protect the other person so they don't think different of you, you know, and
Right.
yeah. Yeah.
Right. So the program is so much more than just sobriety. You know, sobriety and recovery are not synonyms. And I didn't know that. I thought they meant the same thing.
Right.
But I should have known that, because the first time I tried to stop drinking, I lasted 80 days and drank. So
Right.
that's not recovery. That's not going through a program. That's just trying not to drink.
A short sobriety stint, right?
Exactly. And the other thing too is you just have to take day by day. You can't look at a week down the road, a month down the road, because if you say I'm never going to drink again, that's pretty overwhelming.
Right.
You know, that's like never. Oh, so I'm going to be a maid of honor in a wedding in October.
Awesome.
Open bar, free bar.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just wonderful. I picked such a great time to not drink, right? But my friends don't understand. Like, I have one friend, I love her to death, but her response was, "Oh God, are you going to be over that I'm not drinking thing before the wedding? I hope so, because we're gonna drink." And I'm like, she just doesn't get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And you
Doesn't
can't.
get it.
Yeah. And you know, I get that a lot from things I go through in my life, and you can't hold that against them, because they only have a certain perspective. So
Right.
the best thing you can do is educate them, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I came on today, Bill, and I hope that my story plants a seed to someone out there who's struggling, or someone that knows someone who's struggling and they don't know what to do. And you know, I feel that one of my attributes is I'm real, I'm honest. I don't sugarcoat things, and I just say it how it is. And it's not easy. It's hard, but what makes it easy is when you have support.
Right. Yes. Yes. Totally agree with that.
Yeah. And that goes with everything, right? Anything, not just addiction, just anything in your life.
Absolutely. Yep. Rely on people that, you know, they can rely on us and we can rely on them. Yeah.
Right.
Good. Well, Renee, I cannot thank you enough for sharing your story and being brave and having that courage. And, you know, you are really a perfect spokesman for this, because you are so real and honest, and there's something very genuine about you. So I really appreciate it. I'm sure the listeners appreciate it. So,
oh, thanks, Bill.
Yeah, God bless. And, yeah, if anyone, you know, can people reach out to you, maybe in the notes?
Yeah, anything. Yeah. My email, you have my email.
Yeah, I'll put it in the notes, in the show
notes.
Perfect.
Yeah. Perfect. And awesome. Like I said, if I can't help them, I can find the people that can. Yeah. And they can be from anywhere in the world, right? It doesn't just have to be Massachusetts. There are people everywhere that I can find for them to use as resources to get them through.
That's great.
Definitely.
All right, just hang on 1 second, Renee. All right, just hang on 1 second. All right. All right, so that was Renee, and again, can't thank her enough. So again, the website is amatterofperspective.org. If you listen to this channel, please like us, subscribe, you know, just spread the word. If you know anyone who wants to come on the show or be a sponsor, we are actively now looking for sponsors. So that's it. So God bless. Have a great day, and do your best to change your perspective.